What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to The Big Thing. It's Monday. I know it's a little bit of later of an episode, so we're going to get into it. And Loki Season 2, the trailer dropped today, and I was going to do a reaction to it, and I was like, oh, you know what? Oh, I can put the reaction up, I'll put the thumbnail, do everything I normally do, and then I'll do the big thing. But then I was like, you know what? Why don't I just do the trailer reaction and talk about it on the show and everything kind of going on with it on the show itself, and that will be the basis, the majority of what the show really is. I mean, there's some other stuff. The great Paul Reubens, Pee Wee Herman has passed away at 70, gone too soon. We'll talk a little bit about him and his legacy and everything that he meant to so many people, for sure. The box office, Barbie, Oppenheimer, battling it out again. Back and forth they go, and there's a little bit of controversy, as there usually always is. But this one, I think it's warranted, but we'll talk about a little bit more about that also. There's this Lando series that they mentioned that Donald Glover and his brother, I should say Jeff Snyder, had kind of broke the story. And then there's some news that the original screenwriter, it's like, I didn't know that I was off the project, but I guess I am, so good luck. So we'll talk about that also. That and more, at least that's what I think, on today's show. So if you're brand new to the channel and you've never been here before, do me a favor, hit that button, subscribe to the channel. We're almost at 100. We hit 80, almost at 86,000 now. And thank you guys for being part of it. If you haven't joined the website, you can join the website, thekristianharloff.com. We had a lot of things. Today I put up a rewatch for The Princess Bride. We also put a Q&A session that we did today. We did I have like an exclusive podcast over there, the things that I'm watching. Just go over that. So it's a lot of fun stuff over there. And I do one-on-one sessions with people, and there's like some surprise sessions with some of the crew. So we hope that you'll join, thekristianharloff.com. If you're able to join, you want to join. But let's get into it, man. Let's get into the show. It's the big thing. I'm ready. You're ready. Great. Here we go. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. It's the big thing. And we got a full slate this week, man. I don't know if everybody knows, didn't know, weren't aware, didn't see the post. We're adding a fifth show. I don't know for how long, but for at least for this week. Normally we do Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Well, we're going to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We started the last couple of weeks. We were talking about the UAP phenomenon and the hearings and all that stuff, and whatever you believe, whether you believe it's people or things from other universes, other dimensions, whatever, or nothing at all. I think a lot of us, at least, know there's something flying around in the sky, whether it's other government's craft or whatever. People know stuff that they're not letting people know about, and there's other things that have happened, and they're trying to get to the bottom of it. So we just kind of explore all that. Myself and Mark Riley on Tuesday. At least tomorrow, we're going to be joined by Attack Peter, very talented artist. He's going to be calling in, and we're going to be talking about that. So for people wondering, is this what the channel's going to be? No, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, going to be the show that you all know and love. And then Tuesday, we're going to add this particular episode. So if you'd like to join us over there and you want to be part of it, please join us on tomorrow's episode. We'll be doing that for sure. But let's start with Loki. Loki Season 2. I love Loki Season 1, man. I loved it. It was to me, like when the time travel stuff is done well and it's done in a way that it doesn't feel just convoluted and they're just kind of throwing things and is using excuses, I felt like Loki was perfect. I really did. I thought that and WandaVision were the two best shows that they've done thus far. So when they announced Season 2, I said it's a no-brainer, it makes sense, and I also think it allows them to kind of fill in the gaps that have been there with a lot of the stuff happening with the multiverse, and in general, it just hasn't. You don't really know what this phase has been. It's like a lot of separate movies and a couple things here, and there's a multiverse character from there, and one director wants to do their thing, and another director wants to do their thing, and nothing really seems like it actually plays together. This seems like it could play together if done well, if done right. And they showed a scene at the end of Quantumania that played into it, and the other question is how they're going to handle the Jonathan Majors stuff. I'm curious how much he's going to be in the trailer at all. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I'm going to watch it now. All right, so we're going to review the trailer, watch the trailer. Probably the other way around. Watch the trailer, review the trailer, and then we'll get into all of it. Let's do it. Oop, weird orb. Alice in Wonderland.
Obi?
Who?
Hello?
Who's that?
We have a little bit of a situation we wanted to run by you.
Huh?
Tobias, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Great to see you again.
Ooh, where'd he go?
That's what's been happening.
Wow.
It's a glitch.
Time slipping.
Penelope.
Times, you know that?
Yeah,
You've seen that?
yeah.
Can you fix that?
No. It's impossible to time slip in the TVA.
I know, but we just saw it happen.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love the creepiness. I love how weird it is. Yep.
I've been pulled through
Where'd he go?
time between the past and the present.
Awesome.
If what I saw is true, there's nothing to stand between this world and utter destruction.
Oh, there he is.
Only one way to find out. Little good old-fashioned legwork.
I like the detective side of it. I love that.
Action, which is fine.
Ooh.
I take a more slow,
It's like
deliberate,
Carnival Row type
cerebral
thing.
approach. It's really goodbye.
And the dynamic is back between those two. So happy to see that as well. Zaniac, is
It's up to us
it? Yeah.
to save this place.
Is this
Oh,
cracked?
that's
Is it?
Whatever we do, we're playing God.
well. Isn't it your fault a little
We
bit?
are gods.
I don't think they could have avoided that after season 1. Unless that's a variant.
But how do you choose
Why's he got the shackles on again? Oh.
who lives and who dies? Make the hard choice.
There he is. Oh, we
It's him.
didn't put him in the trailer much.
War is on its way.
Come on, you're the god of mischief.
Oh. This is good.
Always have been. Always will
Look at
be.
that strut.
A little over the top, don't you think?
I thought it was spot on.
This looks like a very kind of sci-fi, up my alley type show. Yeah, it looks great. It looks great. This is, I mean, because again, it's continuing where the first one went. And what I think can happen inside of all of this, hopefully, is that we start to now tell the narrative of, all right, well, this is the threat that really they are facing now and how it's going to pertain to the rest of the MCU. That is the larger question right now, because there's really not that much time left. There really isn't when it comes to setting all this up, because I think Avengers is 2025 or 2026. I mean, that's not that much time, 3 years. It really isn't when it comes to it, because you got to set that up. And if you're going to put out, I think that MCU will do its best when there's like 2 shows out, 2 movies per year. That's it. Scale back. And in order to do what they did well for many, many, many years, and the reason why, I know a lot of people say the same things, like, why does it have to all connect and why does it all have to play together? They've kind of made their own bed here on that, because on the argument towards them side is that everything they set up from Iron Man all the way up to Endgame was set up so well, and each one, and not every movie played towards Avengers and played towards Endgame. I mean, little pieces did, and then as it got closer and closer, more things started to pertain to it with the Infinity Stones and all that, and the way that it added up. But there's not really a lot of that yet. I mean, there's time travel and there's certain things, but like the Kang hasn't delivered yet. I thought he was way more effective in Loki season 1 than he was even in Quantumania. I think that they pitched him to be this kind of Thanos level threat, and then he just got beaten up by a couple ants and carried away. So they got to redeem him and make him, I know there's a whole bunch of them, that's the whole point, but they got to make him pretty menacing in this show for us to say, oh, well, that's what they're facing here. And so even though that one particular version of Kang was, pretty ruthless and easily defeated, these other ones, they're ruthless and very hard to defeat. And I know the question is also with Jonathan Majors, and that's why I was wondering if he was going to be in the trailer a lot, and he wasn't. But that also could be because they're trying to set up the lead up to him to show that he's going to be pursued. They're going to pursue him, and they're going to try to find out answers and all that. I mean, he's obviously a big part of the show, but I assume that they're hoping by the time they get to the air date, they're going to find out more information because there's back and forth of what's going on with his trial and his case. So that's why we've told people many times over on the show that you got to wait for all the facts and you got to wait for everything to come out first. And we're supposed to be living in a place of just like, innocent until proven guilty, and we don't. The facts and the fact is, part one very well could be found guilty. Part two very well could be found innocent. So we don't know yet, and I think it's one of the main reasons. And I'm also going to say this: I'm not going to pretend that I'm so well versed in all the facts of the case. I don't. I've heard some things here, some things there, and I don't really speak on it much because I don't know all of it yet, and I'm waiting to see what the final decision is, because that's the thing when it comes to it. Marvel hasn't made a decision at all. And that was one of the main things people kept asking when you look at like the thing that went down with Ezra Miller. And people are like, well, what? How come it's okay for Ezra Miller when, but Jonathan Majors is fired? Well, first, Ezra Miller was part of the Flash, and he wasn't fired from the Flash because it was filming, it was coming out. Jonathan Majors wasn't fired from the MCU, which was what was being filmed, what was coming out, and all that. He wasn't. He was released from other projects. But I don't know if Ezra Miller is part of any other projects too, and I don't know. Again, I'm be very clear about this. I think now it's a no-brainer anyway. But even if the Flash had been a hit, I was very clear. I do not think Ezra Miller should return to being the Flash. I think way too much baggage. That case is so unclear. So many different things. And they just need to move on from playing the Flash. Now, and there is a lot of, again, there's just so much with that case. Just don't know what the hell it is. As far as Jonathan Majors goes, again, I want to see what is found out in court and what happens. It's an unfortunate thing for sure. And again, I want to find out everything that's going on. But the trailer itself. And going back to that, I think that what we have is, this is a science fiction show. This is a full-on science fiction show. Again, kind of like Slider vibes, like a more put-together Sliders rather. And it's, I don't know, and I say that lovingly. I love Sliders, but it's a show in like the early 90s, and the effects just aren't what they are today. But it's got, and I think, again, I'm hoping, like, I think the first one was 6 episodes, season 1. I think season 2 will probably be 6 episodes, and I hope close to like an hour each. I feel like Loki season 1 was closer to an hour, if I'm correct. I don't remember, but I feel like it was. Either way, I dug what I saw here, and I just think that. And the other question is then going to be, this is what I hope. I hope that even if it's a post-credit scene, I hope that there's enough that happens in here that relates to or links to the Marvels, because that's the next one afterwards. It was okay to have Guardians of the Galaxy 3 just kind of be a standalone thing away from the MCU, because it was like their swan song. They'd been around. This was like one of the last last group that was associated with the original crew, and their swan song was what it was. It played out beautifully, and the swan song was also for James Gunn in Marvel. So that made sense that was a standalone and didn't need to connect to it. The other stuff that has connected hasn't really said much, except, okay, at the end of Quantumania, there's a whole bunch of different versions of Kangs. We kind of knew that because he told us that in Loki. We just saw them, and then they're just kind of a lot of the versions are just screaming and yelling and not really doing anything. So, and Black Panther 2, kind of a standalone for the most part, doesn't really tie in too much to this multiverse saga stuff. Doctor Strange 2 had that one version, Multiverse of Madness, for God's sake, should have had a lot of stuff playing into it, and they did open up some things, but does the Charlize Theron part of it all tie into it at all? But if you listen to what she says, she hasn't gotten any phone calls about it, hasn't talked about it. So Thor Love and Thunder has nothing to do with anything. at all, really. So, and minus maybe the very end, something happened. She-Hulk doesn't really tie in that much, I don't think. Winter Soldier might, because of Captain America coming out with Anthony Mackie. So that could, but that's, again, stuff coming up into the future. So it could play into it. It really needs to play. It really needs to play. I'm crossing my fingers that it does. But I enjoy what I saw. I'm very curious to hear what you guys said on all of it. What are your thoughts on everything? And I also saw, and it was funny because we did a Q&A session on Friday for Capes and Cowls, and one of the questions that you guys asked was if the MCU should be rebooted, which I said, no, I don't think so at all. I don't think it should be rebooted. I just think it needs to be retooled. And maybe this is the retool, is that they're going to just start doing two movies, 2 shows, tell the story they want to tell, make sure that they have some portion of it that links into the overall story that gets us to the next Avengers. But I'm so curious to hear your thoughts. What do you think overall? Do you think it's going to work out? Do you think it'll play? Go ahead and let me know. I'm really curious for your thoughts. We have other things to talk about, man. And before we do, I wanted to tell you guys about a few of our sponsors, both AG1 and GREENCHEF. Let me tell you about them right now. Our next partner is AG1, the daily foundational nutrition supplement that supports whole body health. I drink it every day. I love it. Had it this morning. Woke up my daughter, my little one. She's like, "What's that?" I said, "This is Dada's vitamins, all in one shot." And I started it because of my buddy Brett Sheridan. He's like, "You got to try it, man. It's really amazing. You'll love it." Because I wasn't a big vitamins person. I've told you guys that many times over, but I just put it in a water bottle. I shake it up, done. And I do it right before my coffee, by the way. I have some AG1 first. I have it with my breakfast. I go on my walk, and I am feeling good, like real good. I'm like ready to start the day. I love it. It's just so amazing because I don't like doing that whole supplement routine with a bunch of different products. It's just not for me. And for me, since I AG1, better sleep quality, I have a better feeling of health overall. And I don't understand why people would take a whole bunch of different things where you can just take 1 scoop of powder and water once a day, done. Because AG1 was designed with ease in mind so you can live healthier and better without having to complicate your routine. It's the best. It's delivered to me every month. It's been very easy to make it a daily habit, and so can you. So if you want to take ownership of your health, try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/bigthing. That's drinkag1.com/bigthing. I know. You guys know how much I love GREENCHEF, and I talk about it all the time. And why wouldn't I? GREENCHEF is the #1 meal kit for eating clean with dinners that work for you, not the other way around. Eat clean the easy way with recipes that help manage your weight and support your wellness goals without skimping on flavor. I love GREENCHEF. I love it. I've talked about it. Like when my family went away, it was like my thing. I was in the kitchen and I was cooking every day, and I continue to do it because of all the great food that they send. It's so amazing. They deliver everything you need to eat clean the easy way. It's the best. Feel your best with nutritionist-approved recipes packed with clean ingredients that support your healthy lifestyle and taste great too. For me, a lot of the things that I do, I've been making a lot of the rice bowls, but they have like really good shrimp. I'm a big seafood guy, and I love their shrimp. I actually just put some on the grill the other day, fired it up, and made like some quesadillas out of them too. Whew, so good. It's really amazing. They have so much great stuff. Go to greenchef.com/thing50 and use that code thing50. Get 50% off plus free shipping. greenchef.com/thing50. Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well. Thank you to AG1. Thank you to GREENCHEF. I'm so glad to have them. I really am. Such great companies. And you guys know I've been talking about them for a while now, and I've been getting tweets. I've been getting messages in general about how you guys have been trying them. People sent me something the other day about how they just got their first GREENCHEF box. People have been using AG1. I had AG1 this morning, and which was amazing. And it's just such a great start to the day. But if you guys are able to, and again, this has been tremendous to the show, and we're having sponsors who are coming back and re-upping and coming back. And that's why you keep seeing them, because you guys are getting them and you're enjoying them and you're telling me about them. So if you ever wanted to support the show and you say, oh, I'd love to support the show, you don't do super chats, how do I support? Get one of these sponsors. Get them both. If they fit for you and they're right for you, get them both. Links are in the description, so please check them out. All right, let's move on. I do want to talk here about the great Paul Reubens. Paul Reubens, otherwise known as Pee Wee Herman, has died at 70 years old, and he had been battling cancer for 6 years. So again, from Dark Horizons. He played Pee Wee when he started the character in the late 1970s at the Groundlings. He was roles in Flight of the Navigator, Nightmare Before Christmas, Batman Returns, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Matilda, Blow, The Smurfs, Reno 911, and the list goes on and on and on. Reubens said in a statement released on Monday with the announcement of his death, "Please accept my apology for not going public with what I've been facing the last 6 years. I've always felt a huge amount of love and respect from my friends, fans, and supporters. I have loved you all so much and enjoyed making art for you." Tim Burton, who directed Reubens in the first Pee Wee Herman film, said in an Instagram post, "Shocked and saddened, I'll never forget how Paul helped me at the beginning of my career. It would not have happened without his support. He was a great artist, and I'll miss him." Pee Wee Herman gone, a.k.a. Paul Reubens gone at 70 years old. Yeah, look, man, when I was growing up, I remember that show, Pee Wee's Playhouse, and that's really when I think I first learned about Pee Wee, and obviously Tim Burton's Pee Wee's Big Adventure, which was a massive hit. I put him on the map, but like, yeah, he was such a staple in a lot of people's childhoods. And I remember my buddy John Savarese and I, we would always, I mean, who didn't quote, you know, all that stuff in the Pee Wee's Playhouse. And I remember seeing like Lawrence Fishburne back in the day on that show. Terry the Pterodactyl and the chair that he had, and yeah, it was just like there was so much that he did, and he brought a lot of laughter. And I remember my buddy Jeff from the Comedy Store, who has actually passed, was a Pee Wee Herman impersonator, and he was so Pee Wee Herman meant so much to so many people. And Paul Reubens said, and I was talking about this with, I think was it on our Q&A? It was our Q&A on the website, and PLD brought it up. And it was one of the questions that was asked about what Paul Reubens, his greatest role was outside of Pee Wee Herman. He's really great as the voice on Flight of the Navigator. I just watched that recently. Compliance, such a great role, and underrated. But yeah, Pee Wee Herman, man, Paul Reubens. People don't realize what how big that character was in the late '70s and what he did. I remember he did something with like Phil Hartman back then, and yeah, that was incredible. So he meant a lot to a lot of people. So bummer. I was shocked to hear it. 7 years old, keeping that, and that was his prerogative, obviously, to keep it from everybody, and wanted to go out on his terms. So really sad, and again, love to his family and friends. So that's a bummer, real bummer. All right, let's try to move on to the next story. All right, let's talk about this. This is the Lando series. The Lando series, so I talked about it on a live stream the other day, but I haven't talked about it on a big thing yet. There was a report about Donald Glover. I mean, this is from Jeff Snyder, and I think Snyder and Rocha reported this on Hot Mic. And Lando series was gonna have Donald Glover and his brother apparently writing it. To which I think it's great. I love Donald Glover, but it's more about, okay, well, there's a writer strike, there's an actor strike going on, plus the fact that they lose directors and writers every other Thursday at Lucasfilm. So is it ever going to happen? Who knows? Should it happen? I'd love to see a Lando series with Donald Glover. I think it'd probably be really, really fun and probably really well written, to be honest. But I just don't have faith that it'll actually happen. But then transfer over to Justin Simeon, who was the original writer on the project. The departure from Simeon caught a lot of people off guard, and this comes from Star Wars Newsnet, Grant Davis, and even Simeon, when he found out about it. Because I think that I can't remember who covered it, Variety or Hollywood Reporter, after they heard it on the Hot Mic. Then that's how Simeon found out about it. So when news broke that Donald and Stephen Glover would take over writing duties on the series, the report suggested this was a smooth decision that was worked out well in advance between all parties. Jeff Snyder, who broke the news on the Hot Mic podcast, said that he believed that Lucasfilm moved on from Simeon after he was caught up on a time-consuming post-production process for Haunted Mansion. This happened last summer when Donald Glover was finally available after finishing Atlanta for FX. Apparently, this was not the case, as Simeon posted on social media that he learned of the change in plans via Variety's Thursday's headline. He wrote the following on a no longer available Instagram story, and this is what he said. Here you see it right now. This is me finding out right now. Nonetheless, Simeon took the shocking news of his own departure in stride, wishing the Glovers the best of luck as they took a crack at the character of Lando in the same Instagram story. Donald is a national treasure. Glad he and Steven get to carry the character forward their way. Can't wait to see it. Rooting for everybody black. So as it stands, the Glovers appeared to be the sole credited writers on Lando at this time, but we'll have to wait on the WGA's ruling once the series comes out. No work is currently being done as Hollywood writers, including them, are on strike. Meanwhile, Justin Simeon, who probably joined Disney's Haunted Mansion once he saw an opening in his schedule while he waited on Glover to finish Atlanta, finally saw Haunted Mansion out this week, but he'll be busy himself as he signed on to do a Flashdance reboot for Paramount Plus last year. And while Deadline reported earlier this year that he's also doing a Hollywood Black docuseries with Forrest Whitaker exploring the Black experience in film history for MGM Plus. So, okay, yeah, I mean, look, if that was the case, I have to be honest. If this is all, hypothetically, if Jeff Snyder, friend of the show, John Roca, friend of the show, is how Justin Simeon found out that he was no longer on the project, it's bad news. It's bad news. It would once again pose the question: what the hell is going on over there? Like how is business being run over there? If that is indeed what happened, we don't know. Just saying, as it looks, with Justin Simeon posting this out, this is me finding out for the first time, and then showing he has no ill will towards both Donald Glover and his brother. He's wishing them well, obviously, and talking about how much respect he has for him, and going so much as to say, rightfully so, that Donald Glover, national treasure, and just how talented he is. So he doesn't seem to have a beef with them whatsoever. I mean, he didn't. All he said was, "This is just me finding out here." He doesn't say anything. He doesn't badmouth anybody. He doesn't say anything. He just says, "This is me finding out right now," basically letting us know, "This is how I'm finding out, and maybe I shouldn't be finding out this way." Like that's like breaking up with someone on text, but having someone else send the text. That you don't even know. Hey, this is Frank. Yeah, you don't know me, and Jessica doesn't know me either, but she don't want to go out with you anymore. So, sorry. Like, wait, who are you? How'd you find out? A guy who knows a guy told me. See you later. It's like, what? Again, hypothetically, but it just plays into decisions over at that company. Lucasfilm is consistently bad, real bad. I get it. If you're going to sign, if Donald Glover's like, I'm free now, I want to write it, I'd like to write it with my brother, and I have ideas of what I want to do, and whether or not, and I don't know, Donald Glover might be like, okay, because what was the conversation like? Was it like, well, Justin's on it, do you want to keep Justin? Do you want to stay with Justin? Do you want to do it? Like, what happened there? It's like, at some point, someone had to say, like, well, what about Justin? Yeah, we'll tell him something. We'll tell him eventually. You can't assume, well, we're not saying anything yet. We don't want anyone to know. If it's a possibility that it can leak at all, and maybe that was the case. Maybe it was a conversation between like 5 people, and then somebody leaked it, and you probably go back and find out who that person was that leaked it. And maybe that's what happened. Again, giving the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it's like, okay, look, we're still in the midst of this thing. It's so fresh. We don't know yet. We got to have the conversation with Justin, and let's figure this out. And then someone leaks it, and you're like, egg on the face. And it's like, I was about to make the call. I literally had it in my thing to do. It's like, it just wasn't right yet because of the writer's strike, and I didn't want to start making phone calls and this, so we put it on hold, which is very possible. Again, why I'm not saying right off the bat, it just doesn't look good again. You know what I mean? But again, there are these situations that can happen this way, and I understand that because of everything happened in the strike, and they can't, because we don't know when this conversation had. So it could have happened right before the strike. It could happen the day of the strike, and they locked it down. And okay, we got it. We got Donald Glover and his brother are going to write it, but we can't make any of these phone calls. We can't negotiate work. We can't talk about anything now, too. So we got to just hope nobody even brings this up at all, so we can eventually tell Justin what's going on, which is possible. But they could also kind of, I don't know if somebody, it's a tricky situation. It is. But let's jump to the actual series itself. The reason I'm skeptical on it, for the obvious reasons, is, like I said, we lose people left and right. This show was announced in 2020. We're finally hearing word of it 3 years later. They announced shows way earlier than they should. And then the question is, when would it air, right? Because let's say, optimistically, the strike is over by the end of the year. Let's say optimistically. So let's say that they have something they can start shooting by the end of next year. Let's just say they can start shooting by the end of next year. That means that the show would come out sometime in 2025, 2026, maybe, right? Most likely 2026 would be realistic, because you got Acolyte, which they said I think is coming out in like April is when they were targeting the potential release for that, of April. And then you got Andor, which is like August, September. And then you're going to have Mandalorian with potential of Ahsoka season 2, because it's got to tie into Filoni's movie. So that's going to take year 2024, 2025. And then Iger's already said they're scaling back on stuff, so I don't think you're going to get a third series. So you're looking at 2026, 2027. So there's that'd be between 6 and 7 years before the thing was even announced, right? So then the other question is how much and what Donald Glover will be working on in the interim, and how many different things will change in that company leading up to it too. So it's not an official announcement. It was something that Jeff Snyder, because he's one of the best out there, was able to find out, and he got information, and they might not have ever wanted to even release any of this information yet, So who knows when it's going to happen, if it's going to happen. I would much, and I know John Hoey right now is waking up in a cold sweat for me saying this, but I would much rather this series happen than anything with Solo. It's just it's too tricky with Solo, and I like Alden Ehrenreich. I just think you got to put that to sleep. No more Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo. I know a lot of people don't agree with me. Put it to rest. This works a lot better. You can have, if he shows up for an episode or something, okay, fine. But I think that the ship has sailed. I also think it brings a bad stigma with the movie. It's the only Star Wars movie that's ever not made a profit. Put it to rest. I think you have people go, well, then why would you do a Lando series? Well, because most people think that Donald Glover was the best part of that entire film, and he was the most, and he was way more, in my opinion, way more connected to the essence of the character that Billy D. Williams created. Helped create. Sorry, George Lucas created him. But you know what I mean? Like, helped bring the essence to him. And I think, like I said, I think the performance of Alden Ehrenreich was really good. Just didn't think it was the character at all that would have been, because that was what people said. Some people would argue and go, well, that's ultimately where Han Solo turned into. He wasn't there yet. Yeah, well, Lando was kind of at the same age, and he had the essence. You could see that he took the bits and pieces of what Billy D. Williams did, and took that and made it his own, and took a younger version of it and said, oh yeah, I can see how those two characters are, or that version of the character is exactly an older version down the line of what Billy D. Williams does. I can see that absolutely. I couldn't see that on the other side, but I know I'm not on the majority on that one. But either way, it's an interesting story nonetheless, guys. Interesting story nonetheless. Very curious to hear what you guys think. Do you think that this is a true story as far as not that Glover's involved? I think that's definitely true. But do you think that this is? How do you think that this went down? How do you think that? Do you think it was version 1 that I brought up that they just said, we'll get to it when we get to them. We'll tell them when we tell them. Or was it version 2 that they just were trying to be as respectful as possible? The information got leaked. They didn't, because of the writer strike and actor strike, they didn't want to make any calls. They didn't want to do anything. And then this unfortunately happened for them. Or is it something else? I'm very curious to hear your thoughts. Please comment and let me know. Okay, before I move on, I do want to tell you guys about BetterHelp. I have talked about BetterHelp many times over and everything that BetterHelp has done for people on this show. I think that they are a tremendous company, and I want to tell you a little bit more about them. Here you go. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp, man, it is really an incredible thing, and I say this from personal experience here too. I've seen people around me, people very close to me, that we're looking for someone to reach out to and someone to talk to, and they have found that person at BetterHelp. People very close to me, and I've seen an absolute change in their health and the way that they carry themselves, and it's really wonderful to watch. And look, sometimes you're faced with a crossroad in life, and you just don't know which path to take, and whether it's a career change, or you feel like your relationship needs some new love in it, whatever it is, therapy can help you map out your future, and you can trust yourself to find the way forward. As I mentioned, I've seen people very close to me who were in a tough spot, and they were able to find help, and I've even been able to talk to some of the people over there, and just they really care so much, and they really do such an amazing job. It's fantastic. I mean, I can't rave enough about BetterHelp, and that's why they've been with the show for so long. So if you are thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's online, it's designed to be convenient, flexible, and it's suited to your schedule. So you just got to basically fill out a brief questionnaire, you get matched with a licensed therapist, and you switch therapists anytime, no additional charge. Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. You got to go to BetterHelp.com/bigthing today, and you get 10% off your first month. BetterHelp.com/bigthing. All right, once again, thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode. Please concentrate on your mental well-being, and talk to somebody if you need to. And this is a way that I know a lot of people that are very close to me have also used BetterHelp. They are very happy with BetterHelp. It has helped them tremendously. So please go ahead, check them out, use the link, and I hope that they help you out as well. Okay, let's move on. It can be a shorter episode today, but I do want to talk about the box office here. All right, from Box Office Mojo, July 28th to the 30th, week 2, Barbie pulls in $93 million last weekend for a grand total worldwide, ladies and gentlemen, of $780 million. It's approaching the $1 billion. I think it'll definitely hit $1 billion. Wow, what an absolute incredible performance so far from Barbie. And Oppenheimer is in second place here with $46 million, which gives it a grand total worldwide of $405. So that movie has already almost made $500 million. And that is a massive taking in for that film, which only cost about $100 million. So big hit for Christopher Nolan, number 2. Number 3 is Haunted Mansion at $24 million. I don't think that was a great opening for them. I got to see what was the budget? The budget for Haunted Mansion. Let's see what that was. Haunted Mansion budget was $150 million. Yeah, that's not good. That's going to be a not good take for that film. $33 million worldwide, 24 domestic, only 9 international. That's it's Disney continuing the woes. Sound of Freedom was number 4. That movie continues to make a lot of money so far. That movie has made $149 million worldwide, obviously making the most, it's not even open international. So it's $149 here, $149 million for a pretty big hit in Sound of Freedom, continuing to make money at number 4. That was 12.8 for its 4th weekend. Pretty impressive. Now, the 5th one is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. That's $10 million. Now, that's a movie that is, again, not... It's 448. It's doing well internationally. It's doing well internationally, 448. So it still made money, but domestically, it's only made about 140 million, which is interesting. It's interesting that that's what that's all it made. Now, again, it made its money overseas, and it still made a profit. But I think they were expecting it to probably go into the 700s, 800s, but it'll probably crap out at like 550, something along those lines. But what a crazy year for movies in general. Like certain movies, I think June was such an interesting month where we didn't know what was going to hit, which ones were going to be the big ones. Everybody thought that Spider-Man would do well, and it did. And that was ultimately the one. But everybody thought Elemental would do good. It was Pixar, and that did okay. I think it wound up. What did it wind up doing overall? Let's say, because I know it started off really slow, and then it started to do better as it continued on. I think it made a total of about almost 400 million worldwide. So, and what was the budget on that one? Budget for Elemental. Let's see. Budget for Elemental was 200 million. So with 400 marketing, I mean, it'll just about break even, or maybe made a little money. But for the most part, still, at least, I mean, it didn't lose as much as these other movies did. Like Indiana Jones lost money for them, and then Haunted Mansion's going to lose money for them. So, and then what was the other one? Transformers did decent. Flash ate it. Indy ate it. And then you got these two movies in Barbie and Oppenheimer, who they're the stars of the summer. I mean, they're the stars of the summer. The only other movie that just did, I think, as good as Barbie was Mario, and Mario right now is the top earner. I'm going to see how much it made overall. Super Mario Brothers made 1.3. Now, I don't know if Barbie's going to catch it. I don't know if Barbie's going to make 1.3, but Barbie's going to make $1 billion for sure. And I mean, Fast and Furious usually always makes $1 billion. At least when I know that the last one before this one didn't do that, but that was also pandemic side. But this is the first one that was kind of fully released in the theaters, non-pandemic, that didn't deliver. So it's been a crazy year for movies, and it's just been there's a shift for sure. I mean, none of the Marvel movies made $1 billion. Like every other Marvel movie was making $1 billion, if not every Marvel movie was making $1 billion at one point. I think it was like Captain Marvel, Infinity War, Endgame. They were all putting up $1 billion. Now it's like they can barely. I think that what was the last? I think Guardians got the closest. I think Guardians made like 700, something like that. So Guardians 3 made 845. So that got the closest. 845. But I mean, Ant-Man, I don't even think hit 400 or something along those lines. But anyway, crazy run for Barbie and Oppenheimer, though. Both those movies making massive profit for both Warner Brothers and Universal. And it's just been the old thing. I know that when you say $100 million, $150 million budgets, it's not a big budget. You go, wait, what are you talking about? It's a big budget. It's a big budget in the grand scheme of things, but the way movies are made now, if you can make a blockbuster for $100 to $150 million, it's a smaller scale now. I mean, look at Elemental for $200. It was ridiculous. Indiana Jones at $300. The Flash at $225, $250. You're pushing it. When you're looking at the $100 to $150 and you can do it right, you can really benefit. And I think Barbie and Oppenheimer prove that. But the other story that come out with Barbie and Oppenheimer is this. All right, this is from Dark Horizons. The world has been swept up in the Barbenheimer craze in recent weeks with a ton of fan-made artwork, memes, and other creative mashups out there of the two films and their wildly different subject matter. But all of those pink mushroom clouds and visual creative involving nuclear bombs and dolls have understandably not gone over well in Japan, especially when the corporations start getting involved. First found by Twitter user Luis Fernando and subsequently reported at Newsweek, it seems the official Barbie U.S. social media account reacting to Barbenheimer content on Twitter has drawn ire. Specifically, they responded to a fan poster of Margot Robbie's Barbie sitting on the right shoulder of Cillian Murphy's Oppenheimer against a backdrop of California burning in a nuclear fire. The official Barbie account tweeted in response, "It's going to be summer to remember," along with kiss and heart emojis. In the time since, the post drew an enormous amount of backlash from users, especially on Japan's social media, complaining about how insensitive this was. Oh, shit. Things got bad enough that the official Japanese Barbie account had to issue a statement including the Barbenheimer event and calling the U.S. account's reaction extremely regrettable. Fact. They apologized for what was dubbed a series of inconsiderable reactions and asked Warner Brothers US to take appropriate action. Universal's Oppenheimer still hasn't been granted a release date in Japan, and it is facing issues there due to its touchy subject matter. That Barbie now could become collateral damage is rather unexpected. Yeah, I mean, look, that's about as idiotic as it gets. I mean, come on. I don't know. Again, very similar to what we were talking about before. Hypothetically, again, maybe it was someone young who just isn't paying attention and maybe isn't too caught up. And when you're on social media and you're seeing these things and you see this back and forth of the Barbenheimer and all that, you go, oh, this is what this movie is, and you don't take in consideration the real life events of what happened and how many people lost their lives. It's like, think, and how do you? And that, no matter what it is, this is why social media, even for marketing, is such a dangerous thing in general, because you're just so disconnected from the real world. And even when look, when you're working for a corporation like that and for a studio like that, and pay attention to everything, and especially when it comes to the amount of lives that were lost in that event, that the idea that you think relating it to Barbie because somebody came up with a phrase of Barbenheimer that you think is cute, that you should post that out. I was like, oh yeah, they're just movies. They're not movies. There's a lot more to that. It's linked back to so much more. It doesn't matter when it happened. So that was grossly irresponsible for whoever that person was, even if it was one person. The unfortunate thing is that person was hired by someone else, and that person has to take the hit for that. As far as Oppenheimer not being released in Japan, I get it. I get it. I get it. I love the movie. It's my favorite movie of the year, but I get it. I completely understand. It's like, it's not from that point, from that country's point of view. Yeah, it's like, I think that they're probably, and I'll be completely honest too. I'm not going to get into a political thing. After the research that growing up, I didn't know as a young kid, like hearing about it and stuff in history class and all that too. But after research and things, I think it was, beyond excessive and unnecessary. I don't think they needed to do it. War would have been over already. It's my opinion. So I can understand that, it's a very, the subject matter in general with Oppenheimer, and I think what people don't understand is, I see arguments of people who are saying that they're trying to make Oppenheimer a hero. I think that's the very basis of the movie, is that he is not being looked upon as a hero at all, and B, didn't see himself as a hero, questioned himself very much so, and there are a lot of other things inside of it, and I don't think the movie tries to pose him as a hero at all. They try to pose him as just kind of a troubled genius who has an idea and trying to tell himself certain things on why initially he was doing what he was doing, and then when it was for the fact that the Nazis were doing it, and that they wanted to make sure that they got the science right before the Nazis did, and then once the Nazis were out of the game, they started still doing it, and he was starting to question himself about it. That's very clear inside the movie. So I don't agree with anybody who says they were trying to make him a hero. I don't think that that's what they were trying to do. But nonetheless, this particular thing that's happening here with Barbie is and it has nothing to do with Greta Gerwig and anybody else too. This is the whoever that person was that day going, oh, that was a clever thing that someone wrote that they did with Barbie. Let me do this from the official thing. Let me heart it and put and respond to that. That makes sense. It's like, use your brain. If that's your job, use your brain. How do you not think that many people, rightfully so, would be offended by that? And that's my stance on it. I don't know where you guys. I feel most people are going to be on the same page there. But anyway, what do you think? Curious. And that's the majority of the show here today. It's a very late show. I think East Coast people aren't going to get this until like 11, 12 o'clock at night. So you're probably not even going to watch it until tomorrow. And then we're going to get the UAP show tomorrow too. So this will give you tomorrow if you want a show. And if you don't want to watch the UAP episode and you just want to watch stuff relating to pop culture, you got that. And for people who want to watch both, now you got 2 episodes if you're on the East Coast. If you're able to watch this now and you're able to check it now, please do so. Thank you to our wonderful sponsors here today. Thank you to everybody who has commented. Thank you to anybody, by the way, who has thrown a like, thrown a comment. And if you have gotten one of our sponsors and you have contributed to the show, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. What I contribute to the show when it comes to helping continue to keep the show on the air. So thanks for that. I appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow with Riley and Attack Peter for the UAP show, back on Wednesday with Roxy. So if you haven't already done it, hit that button. When's Brett coming back? Following week. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you, and we'll see you on the flip side. It's the big thing. Let's do it. Bye.